Hello and welcome to Random Encounter 259 or 259. My name is Jono Logan, and boy, starting a new year is tough. So I'm, at the beginning of every year, people pick their New Year's resolutions. I'm not a believer in New Year's resolution. It's not something, I find them very difficult to hold on to. But I am a believer in something. If anyone out there listens to the Cortex podcast, they have this concept called themes. So instead of making a New Year's resolution, you pick a yearly theme, and that gives you it's almost like a North Star. So like the year of health, instead of saying I'm going to lose 20 pounds, you would say the year of health. So you would throughout the year, your theme would be to make healthier choices. So it's not going to, so there's no real fail state to it. It's just kind of a general idea. So this year I was thinking about the year of new opportunities for me. And in that spirit, I've been working on my LinkedIn profile. And I've never really worked on a LinkedIn profile before. And LinkedIn is like a boring cross between Facebook and OkCupid. It's like all the boring connections of Facebook with all the rejection of a dating app. And it's just, I am not having fun on my LinkedIn profile. Worst social network ever. So yeah, that's how my year is going so far. But it's about to get a whole lot better because I'm on a podcast right now with Audra.
Hello.
And our fearless leader, Mike.
Hello.
So out of curiosity, you do you have a New Year's resolution or a theme for the year thus far?
Mine's probably healthier eating in general, just trying to portion control a bit more.
I'm completely down with that, actually.
I like that year of healthy, actually. That's pretty good.
The year of health? Yeah.
Health, yeah.
Just, think about making healthier choices throughout the year, and that's like the guiding light kind of concept.
Mm-hmm.
I literally have a quesadilla in front of me while we're talking about this, so this is just awful timing.
Yours is the year of quesadilla.
I mean, to be fair, it's some chicken and most of it is roasted and grilled vegetables, so, there's a lot of veggies in it.
That's pretty healthy.
I don't normally do New Year's resolutions, although now you're making me wish I had one. I think a light resolution, in light of them, the Pixel remasters coming out on other platforms, hopefully in a few months, is I want to finally say I have played every Final Fantasy through 10, because most of my gaps are in the first 3. 1, 2, 3, and 5 have eluded me all this time, and I don't know. I would like to just say I've played them at this point, finally.
I did that last year, actually. That was fun. I finally got to play them all.
Yeah, they're really good remasters. Well, remakes. They're repixels. They are what they are, and they're good at it. And it sure is going to be nice when those things come out on a portable system that's not a Steam Deck. Well, we're going to dive right into some games and something that came out last year, but still has quite a bit of buzz about it. And I really wanted an opportunity to talk about this, but I haven't really gotten the chance to because, there's been a lot that's been going on with year-end episodes, things like that. So this is my first real opportunity to talk with Audra about a game called Marvel's Midnight Suns. Audra has the review on RPG Fan right now. So if you go to the site, you could probably see it there. And so I'm a massive Marvel Comics fan and MCU fan as well. And when people think of Marvel Comics, generally they think about superheroes. But many decades ago, it was horror was the name of the game. So back in the 50s, Atlas Comics, which would eventually become Marvel Comics, they had a number of very popular and successful horror comics. They were massive. And then of course the Comics Code Authority came in, and they were not allowed using words like terror or horror in the titles anymore. And they were not allowed, vampires were no longer allowed in comics because they were worried about the corruption of youth. So Marvel kind of started pivoting a little bit more to superhero, and a lot of their horror monsters started becoming villains in the superhero comics. And all of this thankfully started to relax in the 1970s. Where finally, Doctor Strange could get a little stranger, and the word vampire was no longer required to have the word living before it, as in Mobius the Living Vampire. And horror comics like Werewolf by Night, The Tomb of Dracula, and many other horror/magic-focused characters like Moon Knight, Man-Thing started breaking into the mainstream. And this continued over the years, and it culminated in the 1990s with the publication of a team book called Midnight Suns. That's SONS. and this starred a lot of Marvel's more horror-focused heroes like Ghost Rider and Blade. And this team made periodic appearances through the Marvel Comics in the 90s, 2000s, 2010s, but they never really became a mainstream success. But then a few years ago, Firaxis Games, who are responsible for games like XCOM and Civilization, started development on a Marvel superhero game that pulled inspiration from the Midnight Suns, except they called it Midnight SUNS, Midnight Suns. And this was released a few months ago to some surprising rave reviews. And Audra, you recently reviewed this SRPG, so tell me, how is it?
It's quite good. I've played at least 2 Marvel RPGs, and this is easily my favorite. This third one came in under the radar and just became my favorite.
What were the other ones?
Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 and Marvel's Avengers.
Okay, we don't need to talk about that. Avengers. So yeah, it's a Marvel game, but it does have a much more supernatural slant to it than the usual science fiction slant or crime slant that a lot of Marvel comics have. That being said, it is a very Marvel property. Like, we're not dealing with, there are some more, like Blade is in it, for example, and obviously Doctor Strange. But there are also characters you normally wouldn't associate with Marvel magic and horror, like, well, Wolverine or Captain America or Spider-Man for that matter.
Yeah. They throw in, I think, a lot of, I wouldn't say they're safety, but maybe more popular characters to get people interested in the
game. Yeah.
Yeah.
Although there are also a lot of really deep cuts. You mentioned in your review that Bob, Agent of Hydra, is in it.
Yes, he is. It is hilarious. It's a 1-second cameo, and Spider-Man has to save him, and it's hilarious.
Yeah, that's gold. Bob, Agent of Hydra, is a minor supporting character in Deadpool. So I assume there's going to be a lot of deep cuts throughout this game.
Yes, they do a lot of just kind of laying the groundwork for the story in general. I like the Agatha plotline in general is just amazingly handled. And
Was it her all along? Sorry, I genuinely love WandaVision, and the theme songs in it.
Yeah, me too. I'm with you. I got the reference.
Oh, good. I got that reference, and I got that reference. So. While you do, there are a lot of Marvel characters in this game. You don't play as any of them as your main protagonist. Who do you play as?
You play as an original character that you customize, and they're called the Hunter, or Hunter. It kind of depends on who's addressing them. And they're the child of Lilith, who is the mother of demons, and serves as the main villain of the storyline.
Okay, and what are their powers?
Basically, they have like a sword whip, which is an interesting concept. They fight with swords, and they can use like an energy whip.
Okay,
and
cool.
They have if you invest in like light and balanced attacks and abilities, they have healing.
Okay. So in terms of, I'm assuming, like, from just looking at the screenshots, I feel like this is much more inspired by the Marvel comic book universe 616 than the Marvel cinematic universe. This looks like, well, the comics more so than the MCU.
Yeah, I'd say so. I feel like they kind of separated a little bit from the MCU.
And they obviously, there's a lot of things in this, like, well, character relationships, for example, play a massive role in this.
Gotta build those friendships.
Yeah, like, it's an RPG, so there are like some base building mechanics, building relationships, upgrades, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of ability upgrades, and you can upgrade the base itself so that you can gain more abilities or increase rapport and stuff. Like, you get a gift shop that will help you build up a friendship with another character.
I heard there was a pretty funny gag in it involving a book club.
Yes, there is. You have extracurricular activities, is how they describe them, where you join like clubs for after missions. And Blades he wants to impress Captain Marvel, so he starts a book club and then forces you to join it.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, who wouldn't want to impress Captain Marvel? Carol rocks. Yeah, so what other RPG mechanics are in this game?
Basically, there's a level up system, an ability skill tree. It's more centered around cards, but you gain a higher tier abilities as you level up and as you go through missions, and you can equip the characters with the certain skills, and they have a limited number that they can have on their person. But
Yeah, well, let's talk about the card mechanics, because Marvel has actually had a surprisingly good run of luck with cards lately, between this and Marvel Snap. So when I first saw that, I'm going to be completely honest, when I first saw the trailer, I was thinking, I need to play this. And then I saw the card-based mechanics and immediately thought, never mind. Because I've never really liked card-based mechanics in games. Slay the Spire didn't really do anything for me. SteamWorld Quest, I did not enjoy SteamWorld Quest. It's just not a style of game that has really appealed to me. But it seems like the way that the cards are used in combat is much more engaging than in some other games.
Yes, to me it felt like kind of playing a straight up just SRPG that's just turn-based, but you just have you have different moves depending on the cards that you get instead of having everything readily available to you. And then you also have like area effect cards that help out with you can throw enemies into walls or set off bombs to do damage, and those are actually, you gain heroes and points to do that in conjunction with just the ability cards and stuff. So it's actually I thought it was very multi-layered.
Can you walk us through how just like a general battle in this game would go?
Basically, you'd pick a party of 3 characters. They do their slow-mo walk to the mission field, which is just awesome. And then you have usually some kind of objective, like either defeat all enemies or protect a device or rescue civilians. Kind of depends on the situation. And you have cards that'll either help you with that or just the random general ability cards to defeat enemies. And you draw hands every turn that you have. And you can pick up to a select number of cards, but then you also can like replenish the deck if you need to, or redraw if you really just don't like what you have in your hand.
Okay, that's useful.
And then it kind of just from there plays more to me like a traditional SRPG, where it's you take your turns, the enemy takes their turns, then it goes back to you, and then you keep going until the battle is over.
There are, I guess, well, there are bosses in every game, but in this game, It seems like they are supernaturally enhanced Marvel villains.
Yeah, I think the only one that's not super enhanced is Crossbones for some reason. But other than him,
that's really funny to me, actually.
Other than him, it's you're fighting often fallen versions of Marvel villains, and occasionally a hero, but I'm not going to say who. Just that's spoilers.
Yes, I understand. How are what is there a twist on the boss battles, or is it pretty much a standard fight?
Generally, they have their own special abilities. Like I know Sabretooth, he could actually interrupt turns somehow. I wasn't quite sure how he. And then Venom can immobilize people for a moment. And generally, they have like a longer health pool, so you have to knock them out more than once.
Okay.
In order to really get them to stay down.
Well, it genuinely sounds like again, when I saw the cards, I was worried that it was going to be very, very simplistic. I was worried that they were simplifying the what looked to be a really, really good idea for a Marvel tactical RPG. But it sounds like the cards are in service of that, which is wonderful to hear. But I mean, because it's a Marvel game, obviously an important part of Marvel are the characters, and there's a lot of them. How's the acting in it?
Excellent. The voice acting is, I think it carries the soundscape, I'd say, because I didn't think the music was, it was okay, but it wasn't like standout.
Not unlike the Marvel Cinematic Universe, actually.
But the voice acting was just phenomenal. I thought every character or actor hit their mark really well.
Who was your favorite character?
Magic. Although Blade, I ended up really liking Blade. And Ghost Rider ended up being one of my MVP.
Well, that's understandable. Ghost Rider has a really, really good, a really good horror comic out right now. It's I don't know. It's the kind of thing that Ghost Rider is one of those characters that periodically has like a run of comics that inevitably gets canceled because no one really gets into Ghost Rider for some reason. But the latest one is very much more horror tinged than a lot, and it's really good. And yes, Magic is frigging awesome. Magic as a character is someone who I keep feeling like is such an interesting and engaging character. She should make a big break into the mainstream consciousness, but she hasn't done it yet. I think that if I was Disney, Magic would probably be high on my list of characters to include in the X-Men remake or the X-Men relaunch that's coming out at some point. Will it be called X-Men? Will it be called something else? Who knows? But she has such an interesting backstory and such a great personality.
Yeah, and they really dive into her storyline in it, which I really appreciated because I've loved her since New Mutants first. So it's like, yay.
Yeah, so I imagine there's a fair bit of, well, I mean, it's a horror comic, so I imagine that they do not shy away from the concept of limbo.
Oh no, they actually fully embrace it, and even a certain character from Limbo shows up quite frequently in the story, which I thought was neat.
Nice.
Yep.
Well, it's a shame about the music, but it's really nice to hear how the acting is. Who do you think is the best acted character in the game?
Actually, probably Nico, she's from The Runaways.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask about that because I think, I'm not sure about this, but I think that the actor playing Nico is
I believe
also...
she was the TV show.
Yeah, she played her on the TV show as well. Mm-hmm. So that's a nice catch. I didn't watch the Runaways TV show. I've read the comic. And the comics are fantastic. So that's really nice. That's nice to hear that she gets to keep playing this character who I think that she obviously really enjoys playing. Mm-hmm. Is she'd come back to do the voice work.
Yeah, it's nice when that happens because so many of these properties, like not just Marvel, but just in general, like when they go from one medium to another, or it's like a TV show and then it's a movie, like that. There's a lot of recasting that usually happens. So it's nice when they actually can keep some people consistent. That's
true, but there are occasions where I think that the limits of voice acting are really showing off in Marvel's What If, the TV show, because they do get a lot of the same voice actors, a lot of the same actors from the movie to come in and voice their characters. And you very quickly learn that some Marvel actors are extremely gifted actors. They are not good voice actors at all.
Yeah.
Like Sebastian Stan in the very first episode, it's what if Peggy Carter became a super soldier instead of Steve? And so Bucky is in it, and like Bucky shows up and he opens his mouth and you're like, oh no, Sebastian Stan, you definitely a sound alike should have been used here because you're terrible. You are terrible in this.
I don't know if I realized it was him. I've only seen the first couple of that, but maybe that's why.
I do also like Wolverine's voice actor, Steve Bloom.
Does he?
And I think he does a lot of I think he's done Wolverine and other stuff too.
I mean, maybe it's because I grew up in the 90s, but whenever I hear Wolverine, it's always the animated series Wolverine. If no one, does he call anyone bub at some point?
He calls people kid a lot. And
okay.
Bub. I think he does call someone bub at one point.
Okay, I'm like stuck on the on What If, and I'm just trying to. I'm looking like who is good and who is not. Haley Atwell is excellent as Peggy Carter. Dominic Cooper as Howard Stark is not great. Chadwick Boseman obviously as T'Challa is fantastic. Samuel L. Jackson, surprisingly good voice actor. Not surprisingly, but Benedict Cumberbatch, good voice actor. Mark Ruffalo, terrible as Bruce Banner / the Hulk. It's just like, in some cases it's obviously not. And like they could not get Robert Downey Jr. as Tony. So there was a voice alike actor who plays Tony. And I think that I am glad that we do not get the potential of Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr. Giving a bad performance of Tony Stark.
Me too, actually.
Anyway, I really like What If. It's my favorite comic series of all time, and I enjoyed this series quite a bit. So yeah, like I said, the funny thing about this game is that everyone who has really gotten to this game has kind of loved it. and that's been a big surprise. Like, it really surprised you, didn't it, Audra?
Yeah, I wasn't sure what to make of it. I hadn't played XCOM before, and I hadn't played card-based games either, so I was like, But it ended up being a really enjoyable game. And I spent so long just like exploring the base and everything and just building up rapport with all the superheroes that sometimes it took me forever to even get back to the battles. Which, I mean, they're good, but I thought they did a really good job with the other stuff too. And you also have dogs and cats, and it's just great.
Yes, dogs and cats always make things. You were quite taken with the reformed hellhound.
Yes, Charlie. She's the best girl.
Well, I'm really glad that you enjoyed this game, and I'm not going to lie, like what other people have been saying made me go, maybe I should check this out. And then your review actually made me go, I should probably put this pretty high up on my backlog, because this seems like the kind of game that I would really like, because it's a Marvel game, and it's apparently a very good Marvel game that rewards fans. Actually, that's another question I wanted to ask. If someone was to come into this without being a Marvel fan, like they only had it's impossible for someone not to have a passing familiarity with the Avengers or anything like that nowadays. But if they had never read a comic before and weren't super familiar with the characters or their personalities, do you think they would enjoy this game as much?
No, because I think it really does. It kind of banks on you having that familiarity.
Okay.
And it's very character driven. So if you don't have any, I guess, fondness for the characters, then you're not really gonna.
So it's not gonna. You're not gonna fall in. Well, I guess you might fall in love with certain characters in this, but it's a kind of game that really is. It rewards you for knowing your stuff.
Yeah, I mean, they'll even mention characters that don't show up at all, which I thought was a neat touch. Nico will mention the other Runaways, and Colossus gets mentioned a lot just because Magic's exasperated with him trying to be the big brother.
As she does. Well, I'm really, really glad that this is a good game. I was so worried about it, and the fact that it turned out to be a surprise, as I understand it, a fairly surprise hit of 2022. Yeah. It's nice to see.
Well, especially since a few months before that, it sounded like it wasn't going to come out last year. And then they're actually, wait, no, it's coming out in December.
Last year was a good year for games. I don't care what people say. It was a good year for games.
It was.
Yep.
I'm mostly often like you in terms of card-based games. So I had the same thing where I was not totally sure, but I did watch a friend of mine play it a couple weeks ago, and I'm impressed. Seeing him run around the base area, which is gigantic.
Yes, and you unlock more of it as you progress.
That's what I like. Yeah, the puzzles and how you interact and expand the area. And I'm okay, all right, this sounds pretty cool to me. So I didn't see a lot. I saw that. I saw a little cutscene of going outside and painting with Blade, which is just beautiful. And then a little bit of the battles, which. I mean, the battles, like I said, that was the thing that was really I'm not sure this is going to be for me, but it doesn't, I don't know. I don't know how to articulate how it's different from other card-based games, but I'm no, this looks fun. I think maybe it's because there's enough interesting and weird things you can do in battle, like making portals and throwing this guy through here to go over there. And I don't know. It just looks like a lot of fun.
Chain attacks.
Yeah. Just
hilarious.
It just seems like if you have the right abilities and right characters, you could really do some really weird and interesting things. So it's probably fun to just experiment.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious, have either of you been at all tempted to try Marvel Snap? Oh, you haven't heard? Okay, Marvel Snap.
No, I know. I've heard of it, but I haven't looked into what it even is. So no.
Not really.
It's just a card game, but apparently it has an unbelievable level of depth for something that looks this simple. And then has become God, it was showing up on best game of the year lists. And I was like, what the heck is going on? It's a cheap little knockoff card game. And then apparently they just managed to hit gold with it.
Wow. I wonder how long it'll last.
I don't know, but I've been looking for a new game to play while I edit podcasts. And I'm looking at this and I'm like, this seems relatively simple. I could probably play this while I edit podcasts, because my go-to is Ticket to Ride. And there's only so much Ticket to Ride you can play before you start hearing trains in your sleep. Well, let's take a jump now. We're going to take a jump from the Marvel universe to a fantastical place full of monsters and aliens, Seattle. Yeah, so this is Coffee Talk. Coffee Talk, it might be one of the most accurately titled games of the last few years. It's you're talking over coffee. So this came out in 2020, and weirdly, we didn't have a review for it, which is strange because it's one of your favorite games of the last few years.
Yep.
So we decided to give the task to Audra to review it. So yeah, this is you're the owner of a coffee shop in a fantasy world version of Seattle, and you are making latte art for your regulars, all of whom happen to be supernatural beings that are dealing with relatable modern problems. So Audra, how did you enjoy it?
Oh, I loved it. I thought it was so charming and relaxing and just cute and touching all at once. It was very nice. It's the kind of game that's very cozy that you can play like wrapped up in a blanket and stuff.
It's funny, when the game came out 3 years ago, it got a mixed reception, but it seems like since then critical opinion has shifted over to it being a fantastic game. Like, people really, really enjoy Coffee Talk. It's become an indie sleeper hit in the last few years. Mike, when was the first time you played it?
At launch, believe it or not, I played a game at launch. So yeah, I think it was February 2020 it came out. And then, not to spend too much time on this, but something happened the month after that. And it turns out that was a really, really perfect time to sit down and play a relaxing, cozy visual novel at home. So I don't like it just for that, but I do have fond memories of, playing this game at a really strange time in everyone's lives. I'm like, you know what? This is the game that I really need right now.
I love when a game or a book or a movie or something hits at exactly the right time, and you associate it with that, and you're just like, wow, that was a lifesaver floating in the water.
I mean, I don't like it just for that reason. I really do think the timing of that was interesting, so I appreciate it for that.
Mm-hmm. So, Audra, what did you like about it?
I love the characters, and well, I'm a huge coffee fan in general, so getting to learn about all these different recipes and stuff, because they actually will come in and have them request certain drinks that are like native to different countries and everything. It was just really interesting.
Do you think that you could make some latte art after playing it?
No, my latte art was described as cute.
I mean, it could be
cute
worse.
Attempt.
Yeah. It's like, oh, really? This is latte art, huh? In the trailers, it looks so easy.
I know. And then mine is like a little circle square thing.
How does the game play? Like, it looks like it. I haven't played Coffee Talk. It looks like a very interesting mix between a visual novel and a latte art simulator.
That's pretty accurate. You talk to the customers, they request certain drinks, and then you try to make them with the ingredients you have on hand, and you have a little manual to follow for known recipes and stuff that you can go to if you need to. And basically that's kind of the gist of the gameplay, really.
I do like that your drink recipes, once you discover them, are just in your little coffee app on your phone.
Helpful.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of cute. I mean, the game's presentation is extremely, I guess, homey would be a way. Like, it features some just fantastic pixel art portraits of the characters. What did you make of the art style?
I thought it was really eye-catching and just pretty. It fit for the setting and the story tone that they were going for, I think.
Yeah, because while your patrons are supernatural beings, like there's a vampire, there's a werewolf, I think there's a squid creature, but they are not like you would expect them to look from horror. They are very modern world kind of designs.
Mm-hmm. Like the squid creature, she's like wearing glasses and is concerned with like an indie game development, which I thought was really cute.
Oh, yeah, she's adorable.
Mm.
Yeah, I really think like just the art and the backgrounds, like the setting, the atmosphere, like I really think they nailed it. I mean, the idea, I do think it's funny that it's in Seattle, but it's meant to be modern day. So it's like just an alternate, like Seattle 2020. And I guess it's in real time since the sequel is meant to be Seattle 2023. But no, I mean, like, just, even when there's one or two characters. Like there's even parts where like someone leaves and like all you're looking at for a moment is like the background, but you see the rain and the silhouettes of people walking outside, and they just got the mood just right.
Yeah, it has a very good aesthetic.
Yeah, and like just even like things, I also love coffee. I love coffee shops, and like especially when you find one that has just cool like decor and the right vibe, and I like the little shelves in the wall and little things on the shelf. Like it feels,
It felt homey.
just like one of those homey like local coffee places. So I don't know, all of that's important. Like I noticed all those details, so that was fun.
And as I understand it, Seattle is a bit of a coffee town.
Oh yeah, a little bit.
Yep.
Well, you were both talking about the vibe of the game, and I would argue from what I have read that a very important part of the vibe of the game is the music of Coffee Talk. Now, generally, this is considered to be, I looked it up, so it's called lo-fi chill hop. And what does that mean? I will tell you because I looked it up. It's like a chilled out, jazzy soundtrack that includes hip-hop beats. So it's the kind of thing that creates an atmosphere. Like, that meme of the girl listening to music on her headphones while she's studying? She's probably listening to the soundtrack of Coffee Talk.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of what she's
Most
talking
likely.
about.
At least when she's not busy like appearing as DLC in Rocket League.
She appears as DLC in Rocket League?
There's some DLC, there's some lo-fi girl like DLC in Rocket League now, yeah.
Oh, lo-fi girl. Yeah, because that's what I think of when I think lo-fi vibes. I think Rocket League. Okay, well, hey, it's IP. I guess it's up for grabs. Maybe she'll be the next character on Multiverses. So I was thinking that like just as trying something out, since we have Mike here, who is the host of Rhythm Encounter, I thought that we would do like a little mini version of Rhythm Encounter to give the listeners of Random kind of a feel for what rhythm is like. And I can't think of a better game to do this with than Coffee Talk. So, Mike, why don't you tell us what is the format of an average episode of Rhythm Encounter?
It's pretty simple. Everyone who comes on brings on a couple songs for whatever the topic is. So sometimes it's a theme, we've done a couple like summer episodes. So like people, we like the ones that are kind of open like that, where it's really open to interpretation. Like, what does summer in an RPG mean to you? And we get some really interesting picks. Sometimes we'll pick, we have some focused on a certain composer or things like that, or maybe a certain series. So we try to mix it up. We try to have a variety of like series and composer and other more broad themes. So, but basically people will bring on music for whatever the topic is, and then we all listen to it, and everyone like shares their thoughts on, basically just what they think about it. And also, especially for the theme ones, like why did I pick this song to represent this topic? So we always have some really interesting conversations about music and why we like it and what it means to us. So yeah, obviously I feel very strongly about Rhythm Encounter.
Yes. And another reason I'm doing this is because Rhythm Encounter recently has hit a milestone episode. Yeah.
We just posted our 100th episode, which is really big for us.
Ooh.
I know we're not at 350. Well, Retro Encounter is way past 350 already, but you guys have done 350, 250 episodes. So we're at 100. So we're a baby compared to the other shows, but it's still really exciting. We had, Steven and Derek were part of RPG Fan when we launched the show 10 years ago now. And, they've moved on. They both work in localization in the game industry now, but they both came back for the episode. So we talked, we didn't reminisce too much, but, we talked about how the show came to be and why it got started and how we continue the tradition today. And it ended up almost becoming like a secondary music of the year episode, because that was episode 99, was music of the year with the staff. And then me and Steven and Derek also brought on stuff we liked from last year. So yeah, a lot of good 2022 music in the last couple episodes.
Yeah, so I highly recommend that people check those out. But if you want to know what to expect, let's give you a little taste. So Audra, what song did you pick for today?
I picked Tenderhearted from the Coffee Talk soundtrack.
That is awesome. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to give it a listen. And by give it a listen, I mean we're going to play it. So you can listen to it too. And then we're going to have a little talk about the song. So we will see you back here in about 6 minutes.
I love the feel of the song. It's mellow and relaxing and kind of like soft and just really, I don't know. There's something about it there's like a reflective quality to it that I really like. I feel like the title Tenderhearted is actually quite apt for how it makes me feel when I'm listening to it.
Yep. I don't know if I could pinpoint like which scenes any particular song is used in. Maybe I need to play again to see if I can like relate them to certain characters. I'm not sure if that's the case. I think some are. I think some songs might be more for certain characters. But
I also like that you could pick which songs you wanted to play at given time.
yeah, that's true. Your little in-game, music app on your phone again.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very small little thing, but I always appreciate it because the composer is Andrew Jeremy, and then oh man, I'm blanking. What he mix up some of the letters in the game. I guess Andrew Jeremy doesn't exist in alternate Seattle, but like, do you remember what it is, Audra? Like they swap the A and the J or some other letters around, so it's like a alternate reality Andrew Jeremy in game, which is I just think a cute little touch.
J. Rendrew. Something like that.
Something weird like that, yeah.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned the app because ignoring what the song itself does for me, which I'll talk about in a minute, I think the role that this song and the rest of the music play in the game is very important because I can easily imagine this playing in the background of like a late night coffee shop. It fits with the vibe and the setting of the game. And I mean, I think that this is a game primarily about conversation and talking with people, and I don't feel like it would have been effective if the music was pulling the focus or your attention. I think that the brilliance of this soundtrack and this song is that it complements the action of the game without drawing attention to itself in the moment.
Yep.
Yes.
Absolutely right.
It accentuates it.
Yeah, and I mean, since you're the owner of the coffee shop and you're the barista, you can also be the DJ.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I really see why so many people love this soundtrack and love listening to this soundtrack because it is like I've listened to some of the other songs from Coffee Talk too. It's just a killer soundtrack. It's really, really great. And in this particular case, Tenderhearted is, I feel like it's complex enough that it can stimulate your mind while also being simple enough not to pull focus from your thoughts. So it's like, it's not just good studying music, which it is. It's also good thinking music, or it's just something nice to have on in the background where you're trying to relax because it will, I think it will, exactly what I said, stimulate your mind and stimulate ideas.
Very true.
Yeah, I'm not really sure where you would land on actually wanting to play the game, Jono, but I definitely enjoyed it. I have way more visual novels that I want to play than I've actually played, but so the fact that I actually went through and played this and saw it through to all of its endings says a lot.
Yeah, I loved it, but I do like my visual novels.
I've heard that. Yeah, every once in a while you'll review one. And by every once in a while, I mean every like 6 or 7 days.
Yeah, the amount of your visual novel output is immense. Let me see. I'm trying to think about the way I feel about this game and its vibes are, okay, I'm getting into the weeds here. Just like, this is something I used to do when I was an actor. Memorizing lines is boring as crap. It just is because, I used to figure out like how I interpreted my line readings in the moment with other people. When you're sitting there and you're like reading your lines over and over again to try to get them into your head, it can be boring. So what I used to do is whenever I would be memorizing a scene or working on a scene by myself, I would always try to pick a song that I felt was the right match between the vibe of the song and the vibe I wanted to give off in the scene. And that way, like when I actually performed it, like I might be able to communicate some of that vibe without actually even thinking about it. And that's kind of how I feel about this particular song and the soundtrack in general. It's a vibe. It gives you a feeling throughout the entire game. Like, it's like, let me see. I'm trying to think of an analogy. I can see how the music is helping the story along in a way that something more fast-paced and like a very fast-paced wouldn't. It would change the dynamic and the tempo of the game. And I feel like this game will, I haven't played it, but based on what I've seen and what you've told me, I feel like it has a very deliberate tempo to it. And that because of that, you want the music to be lo-fi. You want the music to kind of have that it's night feel. It's not like heavy. It's not super fast. This is a place to relax and calm down and reflect on things.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And so that's the kind of thing that we talk about on Rhythm Encounter. It's just that's that kind of show. It's we listen to songs, we talk about how we feel about them, and how the song behaves in a game, like how it works. And I think, Mike, that you do an amazing job with the show. And I also think that there are some really, really great video game music YouTubers out there. I mean, you had one on the show. Well, you didn't. Hillary had one on the show a few months ago, 8-Bit Music Theory, whose YouTube channel is just fantastic.
Yeah.
But I can't think of any other show on YouTube or in podcasting that does quite what Rhythm Encounter does. And the way that it goes into these songs. And that's why I think that you guys deserve more listeners, because I think this is the kind of thing that a lot of people would be really interested in if they found it.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Actually, if you are gonna say that, I do want to mention a couple, because I actually have been doing that myself. Like, been
Please
going out and looking, and I don't know if maybe we can talk to them one day, and maybe we'll collaborate with some others. But there's a show called Rhythm and Pixels, which interestingly started in either 2013 or 2014. Actually, no, maybe it's a little later. Maybe it's 2015. But they're not a whole lot younger than Rhythm Encounter. But they do a similar thing too. It's like two guys, two real life friends, and it's just the two of them on every show. Sometimes they have guests, but I just stumbled across them a few months ago, and I think they're great. They don't just do RPGs like we do, but they definitely like their RPGs. So it's definitely a good show. I would like to see if we can get them on our show at some point, because they're a lot of fun and have some interesting topic ideas too.
cool.
So, also listen to Rhythm Encounter. I know you were doing that as like me to be like, hey, listen to our show, but also listen to them, because they're both good.
Music, video game music, RPG music, adventure game music, all of this music, I find it to be, for me, one of the best force multipliers I can think of when it comes to writing or creativity. Like, just if I put on a really good song in the background, I can't have lyrics. If I have lyrics, it pulls my focus. But like
absolutely.
Yeah.
But if it's like a good chiptune or a good orchestral piece, or just any piece like that, but with just music, it really stimulates my creativity in a way that's like in the background. So it's a force multiplier. I just seem to do better work when it's there.
Maybe that should be a future topic.
It's like it short circuits my critical thinking and instead just allows the words to flow.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, Coffee Talk, I actually checked. I'm not sure if this counts all of my listens, because I don't look at this a lot anymore, but I know I've listened to the Coffee Talk soundtrack like all the way through, between 50, 60 times. So
Well, it's not a secret anymore that, Audra, you very, very much enjoyed Coffee Talk, and it has a sequel coming out maybe in 2023, we hope.
Hey, hopefully.
Yeah, so obviously, if I'm looking for someone to review that game, I might tap you, just give you a heads up way ahead of time. Unless, Mike, you want to review it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe Audra and I can fight for it. I don't know why I didn't review this one in 2020. I wasn't doing anything like, overseeing a redesign of a 20-year-old website or something. Oh, maybe that's why I didn't review it.
That plus what happened in, March. I feel like maybe you had a couple of things on your plate.
I always have a couple of things on my plate.
You always have a couple of things on your plate. You're working very hard to keep the site going and to give everyone as good an experience as possible. And hey, as the audience, a way that you could probably help us do that. You can support us, and one of the best ways to support us here at RPG Fan is through our store. Mike, what kind of things do we sell in our RPGFan.com shop?
We have all the necessities. We have RPG Fan stickers and onesies and pillows. I was trying to pick all the things that are not the obvious things, but of course we have t-shirts, we have some hoodies. Actually, I'll mention it now, even though I haven't actually mentioned this officially anywhere else. But just briefly, this year is actually our 25th anniversary. So if you're going on the site now, you'll see that we have a special logo up. And at some point soon, I want to get that logo out and maybe have some 25th anniversary merchandise, probably in the same category. So there'll be like a special logo on the shirt. You can get a 25th anniversary mug, stuff like that. And I only want to sell those, during this year. So I want those to be a limited time thing. So that will be coming up. I think that would be fun.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you were thinking about trying to figure out a way you could support us at RPG Fan and support the whole site, yeah, the shop I think is the way to go. So you can find it at www.rpgfan.com/shop. Another way you can support us is just to keep listening to our stuff. So, like I said, this is the 259th episode of Random Encounter. We obviously have many more in the backlog. If you have a favorite game that has come out in the last few years, might be a chance that we had talked about it on an episode of Random. So go back and take a look at that. And I'm pretty proud of some of the past episodes that we've done. So we have some big things planned for 2023 as well. So obviously keep us in your subscription feed. But this is not the only podcast we have here at RPG Fan. We have two others. We have Retro Encounter, which is hosted by Mr. Mike Solosi, posted weekly. We just had the Year of the Pokemon episode, where the panel discusses the last 12 months of Pokemon games, because there were a surprisingly large number of Pokemon games in the last year. And then next week, we're going to have the Xeno Series Fantasy Draft episode. Yeah, I've seen the slate of what Solosi has coming up, and there are some pretty exciting episodes, including something that Mike and I are very excited about. I don't know if we can talk about it yet, though. I
don't think we can, but I'm happy about that one.
Yes, I am too. So Mike and I are going to be, we are very excited about something that's going to be happening in February. Another podcast that we have here on RPG Fan is one that we talked about extensively, and that is Rhythm Encounter, which is RPG Fan's music podcast. And seeing as we have the host here, Mike, what do we have coming up for Rhythm Encounter over the next few weeks?
So if you're a really, really ardent listener of Rhythm Encounter, you'll know that I'm about to contradict myself, only because we recently, behind the scenes, swapped the next two episodes. But next week, we're doing an episode on transportation themes. So, RPGs have all kinds of transportation, airships and water ships and spaceships and things that aren't ships. So we have an episode on transportation themes, and I'm also really excited after that. We're doing one on the Xeno series. Well, I don't know if you can really call them all a series, but we basically open it up to anything that starts with Xeno is free game. That'll be fun. What I really want to know about the future of Rhythm Encounter is the next time we're going to be able to get Jono on the show. What
Jono,
topic do we have to do to get you back on the show?
Oh, geez, that's a good question. Well, I mean, off the top of my head, there is one series that I know very, very well that is well known for its karaoke songs and other things like that I would not mind hosting an episode or being on an episode, probably with Solosi if this episode ever did happen.
Okay. All right. Yes. That should happen.
Yes, it should happen. Yeah, like a Rhythm Encounter. So yeah, that might happen in the future. If you'd like to get in contact with us here at Random Encounter, you can fire me off a message at podcast@rpgfan.com. I would love to hear from you. If you have any ideas for future episodes or discussion questions, we love those. Anything you'd like to share, please fire me off a message. If you'd like to send me an email, you can do so at jlogan@rpgfan.com. And I am going to double check that this is how you do this, because I am, just 1 second here. Okay. Okay. So if you are on Mastodon, I am at Jono Logan @social. I think that's how you do it. I think. So yeah, I'm at Jono Logan @social. And you can find my account there, and you can find that I have posted absolutely nothing yet. But I am hopeful that Mastodon will be taking off any day now. Because I kind of miss my Twitter fix, but not enough to actually go back on Twitter. I'm not the only one on this podcast with a fairly sad online presence at the moment, Mastodon. Audra, where can we find you online?
Audra B at rpgfan.com.
Cool. And Mike, where can we find you?
So the best way to reach me would be mike@rpgfan.com. Although if you also want to email me about anything Rhythm Encounter or music-based, then you can use music@rpgfan.com.
I think you two should get on the Mastodon train. This thing is leaving the station. We are... Okay, I'm being mean, but to be completely honest, It's pretty cool. It reminds me a lot of what Twitter used to be before Twitter became, not before it became a cesspool. Twitter's always been a cesspool.
You're not selling this.
Before the cesspool became poisonous.
What?
So
Isn't a cesspool? Okay, all right.
Okay, it's like if Twitter was a swamp, now it's like a swamp that has toxic waste in it.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. So Mastodon is the pre-swamp. There's post-swamp.
Well, hold on. You said it was a train. Now it's a swamp. Like, those are really different.
It's a train going through a swamp.
Oh, like, are the tracks like actually going into the liquid? Because I feel like the train would get stuck.
Well, yeah, but then you just get Saban to suplex it out.
Oh, okay.
I was about to say that kind of sounded like that scenario.
Okay, well, ignoring mixed metaphors, if you enjoy this podcast, if you can possibly enjoy this podcast after that exchange, please share it with your friends. Help us get the word out there, and you can rate us on iTunes or other podcast players of choice. Audra and Mike, thank you so much for joining me today and for doing this little segment on Rhythm Encounter, which was an awful lot of fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I didn't even know that you wanted to do that until like very, very recently. So I should put it out here that I did not put you up to that. That was your own idea.
Yes, I am. Mike does not play us all like puppets here at RPG Fan.
Oh.
We occasionally have our own ideas.
Okay. I'm curious who I do play like a puppet.
Mm-hmm. Oh, the rest of them.
Oh.
And except for one, and that's of course the puppet master behind you, the dark puppet master, and that is of course Hillary.
I'm going to let her know about that title. I'll see how she feels about that.
The dark puppet master of RPG Fan. And Audra, thank you for joining us too.
Oh, it was fun.
And for all of you out there, whatever you're playing, have fun.